Welcome to the Three Crosses Farrier Company. I'm Caleb, and we're going to be walking you through trimming and reshoeing this little mare right here. This little mare is used for barrel racing and omoxies. She's a nice little mare, but one of the things that's super interesting about this mare is that she grows a ton of hoof. This is 7 weeks on this hoof right here, and you can see, especially when we go to nip it, that we take almost a ½ inch of material off. The other thing you're going to notice here is that she's super dry and hard. This particular video I filmed about a month ago, and we had not had any rain for over a month. When you're running your nippers, you want to run those nippers nice and flat, but you can see that even the nippers are struggling to go through that hard hoof. And then look at how much growth this horse has in 7 weeks. Now, usually when I run my nippers, I start at the toe, and then I rock the nippers, and I take half a nip. I don't take a full nip. I just take a half and rock the nippers in the same line or channel as the last nip. This helps keep them flat and keep them consistent all the way around the hoof wall. You'll also see that I'm using them to take the frog out a little bit. I do this because when they're this dry and hard, it's almost impossible to get your knife through them. Do love a brand new rasp. This particular rasp was brand new, and look at how it just flows and just cleans that hoof up nice and smooth. Again, you can see the distortion. So if you look at the heels and you look at how wide the heels are, and just in front of the heels how wide they are, and then look at how wide the toe is, you can see that yellow line running around. That's the lamini wall, or the lamini. And then the hoof wall is the section of foot beyond that yellow line running around the edge of the hoof. Now what I'm doing there is called ringing them off. I ring the nails off so that there's no sharp edges to hook me. I'm checking to see if it's level and seeing if I like where my heels are and if the heels are covering, the heels of the shoe are covering the heels of the horse's hoof. That's super important. Sometimes when I'm shoeing horses and I come across a horse that's been shod by an individual who doesn't cover the heels enough, and you come back and the heels have grown over the side. Right here I'm going to do a little bit of finish work, clean that up. Now you can see my nail line on that medial side, or the inside of the hoof right there. The middle nail is a little low. The goal is for your nails to be in a straight line. You'll also notice that I put a little bit of a grind on the edge of the shoe, 45 grind around the edge of the shoe. This serves several purposes. One of the biggest things that it does is it doesn't give a hard edge for that horse to step down on. I'm going to rasp the nails, get them nice and squared up so we can clinch them and they come out real nice and square. This mare is pretty good, but she can kind of be a turd about her feet. She's not got a lot of patience. She gets tired of standing. And those are my clinchers right there. There's 2 different ways to clinch a foot. Well, there's 2 that I know of. So these are clinchers right here, and that's what we use. Or I heard another guy say it's crimping, but I use the term clinching. And the bottom of the clinch comes and is snug against the bottom of the nail, and then that top curved portion hooks onto the nail and bends it down without pushing the nail out the bottom. The other way to do it is what they call a cavalry or a hammer clinch, and that is where we bring the hammer down from the top and you put a block, something heavy, under the nail on the bottom and then hammer the nail over and down. You can note here, and one of the things that you should note, one of the things to note right here is look at how far forward our heels have gone. Those heels need to be brought back under the foot so that they actually start to function. The further the heels come forward and the further the foot comes forward, the more pressure is put on the back of the foot and on the tendons, specifically the deep digital flexor tendons, which come down the leg on the backside, V, and hook to P3, the coffin bone underneath. They come around the navicular bone, which sits, if you look at that wide portion of frog there, the center sulcus, under that little hole right there in the center, right where my nippers are now, that's the center sulcus, and underneath that, if you had x-ray vision, is the navicular bone. It sits right in front of the center sulcus, kind of right in front of where I'm nipping. The frog is the digital cushion. It helps cushion and take impact when the horse is moving. Here you'll see, again, you'll see that distortion. You'll see that line running around the foot. Now, one of the things is you could bring these heels back a little more, but if you did, then you'd probably have to wedge up or do something to account for taking the heels down so much. This horse, we don't need to do that. We just need to bring the foot back as much as we can. And every time we work on this horse, we're going to bring those feet back underneath, and over time, we won't struggle with this as much. Now, I've mentioned in a couple other videos, but I'll mention it again. If you look at my nails there are set up so they're almost straight up and down. And then as I move towards the toe, they angle more towards the inside of the foot so that they follow the hoof line and come out high enough to hold the shoe in place. Now, when she jerked just a second ago, that is an extremely dangerous position to be in as a farrier. I don't think folks understand how much a horse that jerks like that causes so much trouble. If you look at where that nail comes out, my femoral artery sits not too far away from that nail, especially on the inside. The medial side of the hoof is right up against your femoral artery, up against tendons, muscle. The other day I was working on a horse. I had the foot swung forward and nails bent over instead of wrung off. And I had just gone to cut one of the nails, and I peeled it up to cut it. The horse jerked and stuck the nail into my lower tricep above the elbow. So this is a dangerous sport. Again, you'll notice, see that nail's angled a little bit more in than the other one. I'm checking to make sure it pops out. This horse is really making it difficult. One of the things about being a farrier is we're watching everything. We're watching how the horse moves. We're watching to see how he reacts to the nails. Is one of the nails close? Did he not like that one? Is he jerking because he doesn't like what we're doing with the shoe, or is he jerking because he just doesn't want to stand there anymore? There's a lot that goes into this, and I don't think folks understand how much time and energy it takes. And when you take this seriously, it takes over your life, and a lot of guys get burnout being farriers because it's a lot. It's physically demanding, it's mentally demanding, the scheduling, dealing with people, figuring out where they need to be. You know, unfortunately, none of us have secretaries unless our wives do it. In most cases, we don't, because our wives are working as well as we are. And it's just, this is a tough industry to be in. There's a reason that 95% of a shoeing class at the 5-year mark are not shoeing horses. it's good money, and I make very good money doing this, and it's a great way to make a living. It offers some independence that other jobs don't offer. But with that comes a cost. And injuries and everything that sets you back. I mean, being self-employed is not for the weak at heart. This horse was just being a turd. In fact, I did this horse the other day, and I sedated him. In a lot of ways, it's just not worth the hassles. Using sedation just makes your life easier. And that should do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.